O'Connor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Look, it's a pleasure to rise and talk to this bill. I want to acknowledge the member, David Clark, for the work that he has done on this bill and why I disagree with it and premise the dignity which he has brought to the approach. I unfortunately have found, though, that the accusations today and those hecklings and interjections a week or so ago disturbing, and even more so today, that once again it's been brought up in this place that raising the topic of Anzac Day to bring about the story without comment, that's really important, unlike other members today who have tried to put words into the mouths of the war dead. I stood up, I only read a war diary, allowed those words to speak for themselves, the howls and the cries, and I repeat what I said that day. How dare members opposite act with contempt when the words of the war dead are spoken, the words of an Anzac trooper is spoken when we are discussing Anzac Day. You don't have to agree with it. You can interpret it whatever way you want it. It was left free. It was left free, but to rage and rant that how dare someone talking about Anzac Day, if someone dares to talk about Anzac Day, to put a bill down, that we might put it in context. We might put it in context. And Mr. Chair, I've been struck since that speech, the number of phone calls, emails, letters that people have sent expressing their support for that position. The belief, as they did, their own people, war veterans, those like a member who spoke earlier who had people who served, who were proud as Kiwis to have the voice of an Anzac trooper spoken in this House. And it might pay for members to note, of course, that this House is a war memorial. And in this very House of a war memorial have yelled, cajoled, the very fact that we might talk about Anzac Day when discussing a bill about Anzac Day. Very, very striking. Mr. Chair, I noted a week ago, and I want to note it again today, Anzac Day is not a holiday, and Anzac Day is not an excuse for a holiday. I made it clear the other time, and want to do so again. If we want to talk about more holidays, if we want to talk about workers' rights, then we can find an opportunity to do that and discuss it. The moment you take a day of commemoration and turn it into a holiday, you have changed the nature of the day. That's why we call something a commemoration, and that's why we call something a holiday. And so we've heard from the opposition, they're saying, oh, this is the same as Easter, this is the same as Christmas. That's just ignorance. Those are days that are holidays, holy days, days of festival and celebration. Anzac Day is not. It is a day of commemoration. It sits on a very particular day. That's why we celebrate it. We do that in that way. We can see that Mr. Mallard is back in the House. Mr. Speaker, we celebrate different days in different ways, and once again this House does a disservice by trying to make everything absolutely the same. We heard, I think it was from New Zealand First, no, we need to call all the days the same. It doesn't matter if it's Christmas Day, Boxing Day, Easter, Anzac. Let's just make them all the same, make them all a holiday. And we heard in the Leader of the Opposition's attempted attack today to continue talking about tourism and it's good for business and so forth. Listen, Mr. Chair and others, to the rhetoric, and you understand this is about taking a day off. But there's a couple of other things we need to point to. There's been discussions about what the Australians do. Well, that's all well and good, but I think it's nice to note I'm a proud Kiwi. I do what I think is right for Kiwis and not always following what the Australians do. And the other thing too, people are noting about the attendance at Anzac Day and it's increasing. Well, I'd actually want to put the challenge to the House. Attendance is returning to the way it used to be. Attendances over the years have dropped off. In generations of some sitting in this House, and certainly not mine, had dropped off. Younger people in my generation are coming back to Anzac Day, and it's an important distinction. So, Mr. Chair, I want to return to what has been a theme of my approach to this bill. Anzac Day is not a holiday. It is not an excuse for a holiday. I welcome the opportunity to talk with the member, anyone from the opposition, to find other excuses, but leave this day of commemoration, this Anzac Day, to be just that, a commemoration on the day of the 25th, and a day of commemoration in which this House can stand up with confidence and pride in this war memorial and allow the words of a New Zealand trooper to be spoken and not taken out of context and shamefully and contemptuously dealt to.
Mr. Chair.